All right, let's dive into something I know we all have opinions on: bad acting. We're looking at the top10s.com and their list of the top 10 worst actors and actresses of all time. And let me tell you, the comments are wild. But before we get to names, what even makes an actor, like, bad? Is it just messing up lines?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean,
Hmm.
acting, it's so subjective. What one person hates, another might actually love. But seeing the same names on these worst lists, it makes you think, are there some things they all have in common?
Yeah, for sure. This list is all over the place. We've got reality stars like Paris Hilton and then Oscar winners like Nicolas Cage. It's a real mix.
And that's what's so interesting, right? It's not just about if they can act or not. It's about how the public sees them, the roles they pick, even what they do off screen.
Let's break that down. Like Paris Hilton, people say she's not authentic. Is that because of her reality TV stuff, or is it like how she actually acts?
Mm, that's the question, isn't it? It's hard to separate the person from the performance. With Hilton, she often plays characters that are kind of like her public image. So maybe it's harder for people to believe her as someone else. It's like she's stuck playing Paris Hilton. Speaking of typecasting, Kristen Stewart gets a lot of flack for not showing emotion, especially in Twilight. Stewart's interesting, she's got skills, she can do a lot, but she keeps getting those roles where she's got to be, I don't know, reserved. And to some people, that reads as bad acting, especially if they like big dramatic performances.
So maybe what we think is bad is just a choice, like from the director or the way the actor wants to do it.
Totally. Got to look at the whole picture, right? Take Personal Shopper, for example. Stewart, she does this subtle thing with her face, her body. It's not for everyone, but it's not emotionless, that's for sure.
Reminds us that acting's a skill, and there are different ways to play a character. Maybe it's less good versus bad and more about understanding what actors are doing. Now, Adam Sandler, he's all over this list. People say his humor is the same, kind of childish. Why do you think that is? I mean, it's successful, but also gets so much hate.
Sandler's definitely, well, he divines people. It's big, goofy humor, lots of physical stuff. Works for some, but for others, it's like the same joke over and over. And you get the feeling he's not, stretching himself, trying something new. So people who want to see him do more, they get frustrated.
So even if you're good at one thing, you got to keep growing.
You got it. Do the same thing too long, and people think you're stuck, even if you're technically good.
Makes sense. And then you've got someone like Tommy Wiseau, his movie The Room, it's so bad, it's good. How does that even happen, and is it fair to call it bad acting then?
Wiseau is a whole other story. I mean, The Room, it's a mess. Awkward lines, weird plot, the whole deal. But there's something about Wiseau. He's so sincere, you almost can't look away. It's like he's playing by different rules. Like he doesn't even know how you're supposed to act.
It's like he made up his own type of comedy, and people love how crazy it is what you were saying before, right? It's not just the acting. With Wiseau, the badness is what makes it fun, something to talk about and, make fun of with friends.
Exactly. And it makes you think, is there room for bad acting?
Oh.
Can it be art on its own, or is it just failing at acting?
That's a good question. It's like with art in general, everyone's got their own take.
For sure. And as we keep going with this list, we'll see how typecasting, what people think, and where that line of bad acting is, all those things keep popping up.
Okay, so we've seen how public image, even like artistic choices, can be mistaken for bad acting. But what about some of the newer names on this list, like Brie Larson, Zachary Levi? They've been getting some heat lately. What do you think about that?
It's kind of fascinating to see how careers go up and down, and how one movie can totally change what people think of an actor. Larson, she won an Oscar for Room, right? But then she gets backlash for Captain Marvel.
Mhm.
Some people thought she wasn't, I don't know, charismatic enough
Mhm.
or didn't show enough emotion.
And Levi, he's facing similar stuff for Shazam, Fury of the Gods. There are even comments comparing it to Son of the Mask, which, like, tanked Jamie Kennedy's career. Is it fair to, like, write off an actor based on one or two flops?
Oh, I definitely don't think we can call Larson or Levi bad actors just because of a few movies. Careers, they're not a straight line.
Mhm.
Even the best actors, they have duds or pick projects that just don't work. It happens.
So what people think, it can change fast. But what about actors who kind of keep doing the same thing, playing to their, like, image? The source mentions Johnny Depp and Robert Pattinson. Depp's known for those quirky characters, and people say he's versatile. But Pattinson, even though he tries different stuff, he's still seen as that, Twilight guy. Is it just the roles they choose, or is there more to it?
It's a good comparison because it shows how, like, what audiences expect from a genre can affect how we see an actor's range.
Yeah.
Depp, even when he's over the top, he's got that cool factor.
But Pattinson, even when he's doing those indie films, he can't escape that teen heartthrob thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like some genres, some characters, they're seen as less serious, so people don't give them the same respect. So even if the acting is good, it's harder for those actors to be taken seriously.
So being seen as versatile, it's not just about talent, but also if people think the genre you're in is, like, worthy, I guess?
Yeah, something like that. And it reminds us that Hollywood, it's got its own little world, its own biases, just like anywhere else.
All right, get ready for this. This list has some names in the contender section that are going to surprise you. We're talking Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, even Julia Roberts. What are A-listers doing on a worst actors list?
It just goes to show even the biggest stars, they have people who don't like them. And it's that subjectivity again, right? What one person loves, another might think is totally stiff or fake.
Some of the stuff about Jolie, it's brutal. They're not even talking about her acting. It's all about her looks.
Yeah, and Julia Roberts gets criticized for, like, using her smile too much. It makes you wonder, do looks, that charisma thing, do they actually affect how we judge acting?
It's like we put these actors in boxes, and if they don't fit, we judge them harder.
Totally. We all have those biases, even if we don't realize it, and they affect how we see actors and their performances.
Let's look at a couple more names. Ashton Kutcher, he gets called out for just coasting on his charm. And Justin Timberlake, another musician trying to act, people say he's always playing himself. What do you think makes a good transition from music to acting?
I think it's about being willing to, like, let go and really become someone else. Timberlake, you always see him, the pop star, you know. It's like he's winking at the audience.
Yeah, it's like he hasn't found that role where he can just disappear and be someone new, not Justin Timberlake.
Exactly. That's what separates good actors from great ones. They become the character, you forget you're watching a movie.
Okay, let's wrap up this part with some actors who, well, they kind of always play themselves. Bill Cosby is a good example, although his case is a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, Cosby's situation is rough.
Yeah.
It makes you think about that question. Can we separate the art from the artist? Like when someone does terrible things, can we still enjoy their work?
Man, that's a tough one. There's no easy answer.
No, not at all. But it's a conversation we need to have because it forces us to look at our own values and how what an artist does affects how we see their legacy.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff. And talking about actors who, blur the lines between who they are and who they play. Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal, his name's on here a few times. A lot of athletes try acting, but it doesn't always work. Why do you think that is?
Well, think about it. Acting, sports, they both involve performing for an audience, right? But the skills, they're totally different. Acting, you got to be open, willing to, like, really feel things, connect with the other actors. Athletes, they're all about focus, competition. And sometimes that makes them stiff, or they just can't show those emotions on screen.
Like they're playing a whole different game.
Exactly. It shows that acting, it's a real craft. You got to work at it. You got to understand people.
Yeah.
It's not just something you can, like, pick up and do.
And then there's the whole thing with, like, over-sexualizing actresses. Megan Fox is a good example. People mostly talk about how she looks, not, if she can act or not.
It's a problem, and it's bigger than just Hollywood. When we only see a woman for her body, we're saying her talent doesn't matter.
Oh.
And that's messed up. We got to call that out when we see it.
For sure. We got to respect actors, male or female, and see what they can do, not just how they look. So after all this talk about bad acting, have we figured out what it even is? Can you even, measure it?
I think what we learned is it's all subjective, right?
Mm.
And there are so many things affecting it, stuff the actor can't control. It's about the movie, the director, what kind of story it is, even our own biases as the audience.
And sometimes what we think is bad is just, an artistic choice that we don't personally like.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes film so cool. It's supposed to make you react, make you think, make you question things.
So to everyone listening, as you watch movies, remember what we talked about. Don't be afraid to, question what you think, watch different kinds of movies, and appreciate all the different ways actors do their thing.
And remember, even bad acting, it can teach us something, make us laugh, make us cringe, or maybe just see the world a little differently.
Well said. So, until next time, keep those opinions coming. And hey, it's all part of the fun, right? Being a movie fan means having these conversations.